Well, and a gracious hello to you wherever you happen to be today. I am your host, Mike Hingson, and you are listening or watching Unstoppable Mindset. Today, our guest is Angela Lewis, and Angela is going to tell us a lot about basketball. That's because she played overseas, she has coached, and just any number of things relating to basketball, but she's also helped athletes. She is an author. And I'm not going to say any more. I'd rather she brag about herself. So, Angela, welcome to Unstoppable Mindset. We're really glad you're here.
Michael, thank you so much for having me. It's so excited to chat with you.
Well, tell us a little bit about kind of the early Angela growing up and all that.
Well, I am 6 foot 1 inches tall. I've been this tall since I was 12 years old,
And you
and
stopped growing, huh?
I stopped. I've
What
been
the
this tall for
heck's with
30 years.
that?
I know it could have spread out a bit. I could have gotten a few inches a year over, time, but no, I grew really fast and stopped. But at 6 foot 1 and 12 years old, I was really uncomfortable and
Mm.
felt out of place most often. And one day a coach saw me and asked me to come and play on the basketball team. And Michael, basketball found me. I wasn't looking to play. I wasn't looking for a team, hoping to get an NIL deal like kids are doing these days because it's available. No, basketball found me and it really helped transform me into the person I am today.
How so? Why was that?
I was really, I was very insecure, very uncomfortable. I felt really out of place. And basketball gave me this tribe of people who there were other tall girls. I learned how to work really hard. And although I was tall, people thought I was really good or I should be good. So I learned how to work through like not being really good at something to ultimately playing professionally. And so that really sticks with me today and learning how to just persevere.
Well, you did really well at basketball, obviously. I assume at least part of it had to do with height, but there had to be a whole lot more to it than that. You scored over 1,000 points, lots of rebounds, and so on. So um, it had to be more than height, though, right?
100%,
Yeah.
definitely more than height because I wasn't I wasn't very good. I wasn't good at all. I was new to the game when I started. And so I missed a ton of shots. I had to learn how to work hard, how to get back up after being knocked down,
Mm.
and really not feeling good the entire time I'm playing, but learning, listening to coaches, all of that played a big role in my overall development and willingness to get up early and get to the gym when no one else was there. That stuff pays off.
And practice. Yeah.
So much
Now,
practice.
why is it that some people who score lots of points, make really great shots, are not necessarily good free throwers?
Free throws, shooting great free throws requires a different level of concentration. Everything is stopped, everyone's focused on you. And some of it is just repetition and practice.
Mm.
There are people like Shaq who didn't shoot great from the free throw line, but of course was incredibly, incredibly dominant.
Yeah. Well, he was one of the ones I was thinking of because
Hmm.
I don't, needless to say, play basketball, but it just seems to me it ought to be reasonably easy for people who are great shooters to be able to do great free throwing as well, but that's not the case. And I kind of figured, and I think I've heard from a couple of other people, it's a whole different skill. And just because you're a wonderful shooter, it doesn't necessarily at all mean you'll be a good free thrower.
No, no, it doesn't. It doesn't at all. And Shaq was just a unique human in terms of his size and the size of his hand. So Shaq didn't shoot a lot of jump shots. He was often dunking on people or shooting
Right.
layups or something a bit closer to the basket where the percentages are even higher than at the free throw line. So it made it a little different in his case.
Well, and you also and then had other people like Will Chamberlain, Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, and so many other people. And now, what I really love is that we're starting to see that women are being appreciated. I mean, Caitlin Clark and so many other people are, and Paige Becker, right, who you mentioned
Yeah, Paige
earlier.
Beckers. Hmm.
And that is great to see. And I'm glad that we're starting to see women come into their own. And I hope that will include, as time goes on, better compensation so that salaries are similar with male counterparts, because the people who are excellent at the game on from either sex deserve it.
Agreed. And it's incredible, Michael, as you said, to see so much visibility and so much attention on women's sports. I think we hit a perfect storm for the women's game with three things: social media. So
Yeah.
now you have these young women who have all these followings, who have all these followers, and it just makes sense for brands to align with them to sell more products. But then also the NIL deal is the perfect storm. Now the players can get paid off their name, image, and likeness, and it's going to end the controversy with Caitlin Clark and Angel Reese and the national championship a few years ago. That just created so much of a media frenzy that it really has helped increase the visibility of women's basketball and other women's sports, and for that matter.
Yeah. Now, will women's basketball, or is women's basketball in the Olympics?
Yes, yes,
Okay.
won the gold this year. Yes, yep, has won the gold. The USA team has won the gold
Yeah.
consistently.
As it should be. We're not prejudiced, are
Yes.
we?
No, not at all.
No,
Not
no,
at
not at
all.
all. No.
We're definitely not biased.
Well, right. Well, tell me, so you were tall at a very young age, as it were, but obviously you had insecurities, but you dealt with them. Was it all because of the basketball, or what? What really made you comfortable in your skin?
Yeah. I think what made me comfortable is there were there's who I was on the court, and then there's who I was off the court. My family, I'm so grateful to come from a family that's incredibly supportive. I had older brothers who played, so although they would push me, to be tougher, because I wasn't very tough, Michael. I'm the kid that looked at the butterflies and the squirrels. I was like forced to be aggressive and competitive. But my parents, my mom and dad are both from Mississippi, and they grew up in a really challenging time. And so I think what helped shape me was the humility and love from family.
And comparing notes today, who's the better basketball player, you or your brothers?
Me by far,
Okay,
by
good.
far. They may say something different, but if we just look at the stats, statistically speaking, you know,
What
I
what
definitely win that one.
what do they do today?
One of them is One of them is works in both of them work in education. One
Mm.
is like the associate superintendent of a school district in the St. Louis area. The other one is a college professor. So they do well. I'm proud of them.
That's cool. Well, but you did have supportive parents, and that's so important. I mean, I know for for me, my parents rejected all the comments that doctors and others made when they discovered that I was blind, and said I ought to just be sent to a home, and my parents said absolutely not. And I totally thank my parents for their attitudes, because it really helped shape who I am today and why I'm able to function. So I agree with you, and I'm glad that you had really good supportive parents, because it had to be unusual for them to see a 6'1" girl at the age of 12.
It was very unusual. My mom used to have to take my birth certificate with me to tournaments because people didn't believe that I was as young as I was. In addition, I think, Michael, playing sports and anything that you're involved in doesn't just impact you, it impacts your family as well. For those families who choose to support their kids through whatever. So my family didn't travel at all. And we went to Memphis, Tennessee and Mount Bayou, Mississippi because we had family members that lived there. But it wasn't until I started playing sports where we started going other places. And
Mm.
so things opened up for not only myself, but for my family as well.
Well, it's always nice to have the opportunity to stretch and grow and experience
Mhm.
new things.
100%. And it's not always comfortable, but it definitely helps us and shapes us differently.
Well, so you were in NCAA Division I. You scored a lot of points. You clearly accomplished a great deal. What did you do that helped create the mindset that made that happen?
Environment makes a big difference. Who you choose to listen to. I feel like when in any organization, whether it's a sports team or a business or even community organization, what created the mindset is listening to those coaches and those people who have already been through it, but also on like when things are really hard, when there's preseason conditioning or there's a report that's due, being willing to say, okay, I know I don't feel like it, but I'm going to do it anyway. And knowing that when you make mistakes, I remember missing the shot to win a game against Cincinnati and being really down about it. But having a coach come to me and say, it's okay, you got to move on to the next game, the
Mm.
next play, being willing to keep going in spite of making mistakes, that creates that unstoppable mindset. It's not just you, it's the people in your circle as well who can help foster that for you.
So that's easy for a coach to say, but how did you internalize it and make that really a part of
Mm-hmm.
your psyche?
One of the ways that I internalized it, this is such a good question, Michael, is visualizing, like running through the play in my mind, watching the game film, because some of it, so much of growth happens when we can reflect on what didn't go right, what went right, and then be able to make those changes for the future.
Well, yeah. And I think introspection and internalization is such an important thing. And all too many of us just don't take that step back to analyze and think about what we're doing and why we're doing it and how we're doing it and what can we do better. And clearly that's something that you did a fair amount of, and you got answers that worked for you.
It's essential in sport. I think that's one of the things that I carry over is we were forced. I can't sit up here and act like I was introspective before.
Yeah.
By no means. It's you learn and train on what works, and that's one of the things that really works. And introspection is critical.
How would you take that beyond sports? I mean,
Mhm.
clearly that helps you in sports, but I would assume that you would say it helps you in life in general, wouldn't you?
Absolutely, especially when there's conflict. So, for example, I had a situation in my family where I essentially just broke down from giving so much. And I realized that, oh, once I was able to step away from the situation and reflect, I was able to see, oh, I could have communicated better. Oh, I could have created some better boundaries, or maybe I could have planned better. So so there will always be tension. There's always the potential for conflict, but being able to reflect on it to make sure that you get better in the future is kind of how you can apply that same process to life.
Yeah. So on the basketball court and so on, leaving the stats out of it, do you think that people considered you a leader in terms of just being a team leader as part of the team, but taking the lead, or did you even think about that?
Oh, leadership is one of those really, it's layered. So I think I was a leader, definitely a leader in terms of how hard I worked.
Hmm.
And I can say that my teammates respected how hard I worked. At this age, looking back at my 20-year-old self, there are some other ways that I think I could have been a better leader in terms of communication, in terms of accountability, holding others accountable more, holding myself accountable more in some areas. So yes, I would say in terms of just the willingness to put in the work, I think I would definitely have been considered a leader despite the number of points that I scored. But scoring the points helped.
If you could go back and talk to your 20-year-old self, what kinds of things would you tell her?
I would tell her, I would tell her three things. First, I would say, show yourself some grace. You already work hard. Like, it's okay. It's okay to make mistakes. You are going to make mistakes. I took mistakes really hard. I would also say get to know as many people as possible at your university and on your team and in the athletic department. What we know later is that relationships are everything, the
Hmm.
relationships that you have. So be more intentional about relationships. And then I would also say give yourself credit because as an athlete, and when you're pursuing something, you're never good enough. You're always pushing for the next thing. So I would have celebrated some of the wins a bit more.
Yeah, the only thing to be aware of though is to be careful and not let that, as you would say, go to your head and become
Mm-hmm.
egotistical about it. It's important to
Yes.
do, but there's it's like the fastest gun in the West. There's always somebody faster.
Yes. 100%.
Now, where did you go to college?
St. Louis University.
Oh, okay.
It was
Uh,
Billikens.
so what made you go there?
I went to St. Louis University because it was close to home. That was part of it. They were a Nike school. I'm also like the brand of Nike. And it was a great institution academically. Still is.
What
And
did you
so I
get your
wanted my
degree in?
family to be able communication.
Okay, well, that worked
Yeah.
out well. Hence,
Yes.
hence being an author.
Exactly.
So, you did you go beyond your bachelor's degree?
I did master's at St. Louis University
Okay,
as well.
communications.
So yes.
Okay, and then what did you do after college?
After college, went to Germany and played basketball professionally. It was my first time traveling internationally and living abroad, which really changed the core of me.
Well, why did you decide to go professional for basketball? That's a little different than a degree in communications, but maybe not so much. But why did you decide to go pro, as it were?
It's a rare opportunity. It's a very rare opportunity to play professionally and to have the opportunity is something I dreamed of once I got to
Mm.
college. And then, honestly, Michael, I would have gone anywhere to play basketball. I love the game so much. I would have gone anywhere. So I'm grateful that I had the opportunity.
So how did the opportunity to go to Germany and play there come about? Were you
It
approached,
came
or
up,
what happened?
it came about because I was looking for an agent, and
Ah,
one of my college coaches, the head coach, Jill Pizzotti, knew someone who had an agent in Germany. And we sent her my game film. We sent the agent my game film, and she said she wanted to represent me. And she had a team there that wanted me to come out and be on the team. And so after I graduated, it was very much a waiting game to when they to present themselves. And so I was really excited when I found out about the opportunity.
that's cool. And how did you do compared to other people on the team and so on? Were you still a high scorer? Were you still a leader, or not?
Michael, Germany was really unique because everyone on my team didn't speak English. So I
Mm.
did well. I did well. I scored double digits. Can't remember the exact average, but it was like around 15 or 16 points per game. And I did really well and was a leader in that way. But it was a complete cultural shift because of the people from different parts of the world. So it took a different level of navigating than playing here.
Did you learn German?
I, yes and no.
Yeah, a little bit.
Yes and no. A little bit. Michael, we were part of the contract was German classes. And I will never forget, I was in the German class with a woman from Russia who was on my team and a woman from Hungary who was on my team. And the teacher asked us to pronounce a word. I can't remember the word. All I remember is I attempted to pronounce the word and everyone started laughing at me. And it was the first time in my life that I gained the sensitivity for people who attempt to speak another language because
Yeah.
it is really hard. I was so embarrassed and I was like, okay, I get it now. So my German is very minimal.
Well, and like a lot of things, if you had started to learn German or any language at a much younger age, you would have probably been a lot better off and more malleable and learned how to adapt and have that second language. But you were learning it after college, so it was a different situation.
Completely different. You're absolutely right. I did this basketball clinic in Manizales, Colombia, a few years ago, and although it was a little different than German, I was able to pick up on Spanish a bit more and lived in
Mm.
Medellin, Colombia for a few years. But being immersed makes a difference for sure.
Hmm. Yeah. Yeah. Immersion makes a huge difference because you're put in a position where you know you have to learn enough to be able to get by, and you do.
Mhm. Yes,
Well,
highly recommend it.
you said that going to Germany really changed your total core. How was that?
I knew that I I would be okay anywhere. I was in Germany before there was WhatsApp and Zoom, and I was in Germany during the dial-up days and the calling card days.
Yeah.
And so being able to navigate the world at a time where you didn't have Google Translate really helped me be comfortable being in uncomfortable settings because I went to university in the same place that I grew up. So it was my first time away from home in another country and having to figure it out. And to do that at such a young age really shifted who I was in relation to where I came from.
Yeah. So what did it do to you ultimately?
Ultimately, it allowed me to learn how to rely on others, people that I don't know, because I needed help just navigating how to get from one place to another. It created a sense of curiosity of other people and of food and culture that didn't exist before, and a level of resilience. There were so many things that went wrong, like losing my bags, getting on the wrong train, getting almost being locked up. I mean, so many things that went left in that experience that it taught me some resilience of having to continue to push through.
Yeah. I went to Israel for Accessibility 2 years ago this coming August and was at the corporate headquarters, and then a cab one day took me back to the hotel, but didn't drop me off at the front of the hotel. And so it was a totally strange area. And I remember even questioning, did they really drop me off at the hotel? But I realized that if I calm down, I can analyze this and figure it out. And I figured out what eventually happened. They didn't drop me off at the front of the hotel. They dropped me off at the entrance to the parking lot, which was on the, underground parking garage, which was on the side of the hotel. But the reality is that we can do a lot of things if we just focus and don't panic.
Yes. Oh, that's such good advice. Yes.
But
That,
I'll, yeah, go ahead.
oh no, I was just going to say being able to relax and control your emotional state really helps you make better decisions.
It does. Um, and that's what it's really all about, which is also part of what being introspective and thinking about what you're doing is so important at night or whenever you can find the time to do it, and should find the time every day. People should. But by doing that, you really look at yourself and you look at how you react to different situations, and you figure out, oh, I could have done this, or if I just done a little bit more of that, it would have been a better situation. We can teach ourselves so many things if we would choose to do that.
Yes. Yes. 100%.
Well, so how long did you play basketball in Germany?
I played basketball in Germany for one season and then came back to St. Louis and got married, which
Oh,
is
there you go.
that's another podcast. That's another interview. Yeah.
Well, I hope
So
that the marriage is working out.
no, it didn't.
Oh,
But
dear.
I learned some, no, it's okay. I brought it up. No,
Yeah.
it's okay. I brought it up. But I learned so much from that experience as well. So I came back, got married, and started coaching. And I'm coached in high school and college about NCAA Division I. And it was just an incredible experience to stay around the game and coach the game and then teach and mentor.
Hmm. Well, you clearly bring a pretty strong personality to the whole thing, and I'm sure there are a lot of guys who wouldn't cope with that very well either.
You're right.
Uh-huh.
That's fair. Well, it's two sides to every story. But no, I'm grateful for that experience in so, so many ways.
Yeah. Well, yeah, there's always lots to learn.
Yeah.
So so you coached high school, you coached college, Division I, which is cool. So are you still doing some of that, or what do you do now?
Now I'm not coaching on the court anymore, but I work with a company called SpeakerHub, and I am head of operations. And so I lead a team of 24 incredible, incredible professionals who live around the world and help more people get on stages and share their messages. So I'm still coaching, but just not on the court.
It's not on the court. Well, but you learned a great skill.
Yes, basketball teaches so many skills.
And do you still play basketball occasionally?
Every now and then I get out there and I get shots up. I don't play 5-on-5 anymore because I
Yeah.
don't train to play and I just don't want to get hurt.
Yeah.
That's like a big fear of mine. So I'll still go out there and shoot and I love it. I'll play horse against anybody.
Well, yeah, there's a whole lot to it, and you're not working on being well in tip-top training in that way like you used to be, which is okay, but you know what you're doing, and that's what really matters. Well, you've coached a lot of people. What lessons did you learn from doing that, and what lessons did you learn from some of the people you coached?
From coaching, I've learned that you have to listen. Listening is the most important part of actually coaching because different people need to be coached in a different way. Everyone gets held accountable, but some people may need more one-on-one attention. Some people may need more direct communication. Other people may just need you to listen to them and guide them a bit more. So that's what I've learned about coaching. What I've learned from people that I've coached, I would say there's someone I work with now, Maria. She's our head designer, and she needs direct feedback about the work that she's doing more than maybe some other people. Feedback is important, but depending on who a person is, they need more feedback and guidance. And so Maria is someone who really loves that direct feedback, whereas some others are able to work a bit differently. So knowing how to give feedback is something that I've worked on. And that, Michael, is learning. Coaching is always learning. Not only are you helping others, but you're learning from them and their expertise as well.
Do you find that there are some people who really ought to get feedback, but who just refuse to accept it or refuse to listen to it at all, even though they probably really should?
Yes, there are some. There are some. When I was coaching college basketball, there were definitely players who just didn't want to hear it or they thought they had it all figured out.
Yeah.
So that part is hard. And the workplace is a little different because, there's compensation associated with performance. But back then when I coached, it was a little, yeah, there were definitely some kids with egos.
Yeah. And even with compensation and so on, feedback can help people improve if they would but
Mhm.
listen.
True. Very, very true. Thankfully, we
But
have a great team. Everyone's pretty open to
well,
feedback.
that's good. Tell me more about Speaker Hub.
Sure, sure. So we are a speakers bureau where everyone reaches out and pitches to different organizations on their own. So we have a membership where people will get access to over 4 million contacts. We have conferences, associations, we have podcasts, as well as media outlets where people can pitch and really reach out to share their expertise and about their businesses and grow their business through using public speaking to grow their business.
Mm.
So we have a platform that we update literally every week that has the contacts, and they're able to reach out to search and reach out to people directly inside of our platform.
What do you think about this whole concept? Since we're on the subject of speaking, of public speaking is one of the biggest fears that people have in this country and probably all over the world. How do we deal with getting rid of that fear? Why do we have it in the first place? I've never had it. I've never been afraid
Mm-hmm.
to speak. And sometimes I may not be the first person to speak, but I've never been afraid to speak my mind or to go out and speak. In fact, one of my favorite stories is that after September 11th, my first official speech, if you will, came about because a pastor of a church called in New Jersey, and he said, "We're going to be doing a service for all the people from New Jersey who were lost on September 11th. Would you come and take about 5 or 6 minutes and tell your story?" And I said, "Sure, I'd be happy to," because we were living in New Jersey still at the time. And then I asked, "How many people are going to be coming to the service?" He said, "Oh, about 6,000." So that was my first official public speech as such. I was used to speaking in a variety of environments because I'd spoken to anything from company boards to IT professionals, and also did speaking at church and so on. But still, 6,000 would intimidate a lot of people. It didn't bother me a bit to do that.
That says a lot about you and your willingness to share. I think some people are more comfortable, naturally comfortable, to your point. Others are it's afraid of judgment. Fear of judgment is real. Fear of having everyone looking at you and hearing you and questioning your um your abilities is something that people are really afraid of.
It,
So I think
it,
it's Mhm.
no, go ahead.
Well, I think it's something that people can develop more comfortable with with practice. That can help, and also getting feedback and practicing in settings that are less than 6,000 and gradually working their way up
Yeah. I
their
I
desire.
think I think though, at least in my opinion, unless you're just a really scroungy individual and so on, audiences, when you go to speak somewhere, want you to succeed. They want to hear what you have to
Mhm.
say, and unless you just can't relate at all, audiences want you to be successful. And I've always had that belief. So that's probably another reason that I have never really been afraid to go out and speak. But after that 6,000 person event, I still wasn't thinking of becoming a public speaker, but we started getting so many phone calls as my wife and I both love to start to say, selling life and philosophy is a whole lot more fun than selling computer hardware and managing a hardware sales team. So by the beginning of 2002, it was clear that a different window was opening and another door was closing, and it was time to go do something different. And so I've been speaking ever since. And it is so much fun to go to places. I've been to places where event managers have hired me, um, people within the company have hired me to come and speak. And it turns out, as we talk more when I'm there, they were just so nervous. Oh, is it going to go well? Is he going to be successful? Is this whole thing going to go well? And one of the things that several of those people have done is they've assisted me when we sell books afterward. I always like to have somebody who can handle the credit card machine because I sign books and I brought my little credit card thing. So other people actually do that. And so some of the event people have just stayed with me. And people come up and they say, "What a wonderful talk. It's the best talk we ever heard." So it makes people feel comfortable. But those event people are oftentimes much more nervous than I am because I just won't be
Yeah.
nervous.
I love what you said, Michael. You just believe that they want you to do well. And belief is such a powerful part of our lives. What we believe makes such a difference. And so the fact that you believe it and you've done it so much, it brings ease, I'm sure, to some of the event planners over time because they know that you're going to do well.
One of the things that I've learned is that I don't do well at reading speeches,
Hmm.
for a lot of reasons. The main one is I've found that I do better when I customize the talk, and I'm able to use customization sometimes even right up to in the beginning of a speech, customizing it to get the audience to react as I expect them to.
Mm.
And I can tell when an audience is reacting positively or is liking what they're hearing just by the subtle movements and the subtle noises that I hear around the room. Um, and if I'm not hearing some of those things that I expect to hear, then I will change something to address the issue, because I believe that when I go to speak, my job is to relate to the audience, to talk with the audience, not to the audience, and to do everything that I can to draw them in. And so one of the things that I now tell people is, being involved with the World Trade Center, and now we have a whole generation that has had no experience with it. My job is to take them into the building with me and take them down the stairs with me and get them out with me as if they were there. And people come up and say later, we were with you all the way down the stairs, which is so
Wow.
cool.
That is that is really cool too. It sounds like you really care about your audience, which is something
Yeah.
that makes a difference in terms of someone's comfort. If they think, "Oh, this speech is," and I'm talking about me, but you're carrying people along with you and actually helping them through your storytelling, which
Yeah.
makes a difference.
Oh, it does make a difference. But and you said something very, very relevant. It is all about telling stories. And I wish more people would tell stories. I believe,
Mhm.
and I believe for years, having gotten a master's degree in physics, that one of the big problems with physics textbooks is they're so dry. They just do all the math and all that sort of stuff. If the authors, who are oftentimes very famous physicists, would include a few stories in their books, there would be much better textbooks and they would attract much more interest from people. But getting people to tell stories is just so hard.
Why do you think that is?
They don't know how. They don't necessarily realize that telling stories is a very powerful way to teach. It's just not what they're used to. And there are not enough of us talking about it, probably.
Agreed, 100%. 100%. We've been talking our whole lives, but telling stories and communicating in a way that connects with others isn't something that comes naturally for most. It takes practice.
It takes practice, so it does. I believe that the best salespeople in the world are people who tell stories, because when you're talking about a product, and let's say it's a product that a customer really should have, if you can relate to them and with them by telling stories of successes with other companies or how other companies have used it, or other things that you can determine are the kinds of things that would be interesting to whoever you're selling to, you have a much better chance to actually be successful and make the sale that you want to make.
Yes,
Which is
absolutely. We've all
which
heard.
yeah.
Oh, no, sorry, you go ahead.
No, I was just going to say, which is another way of saying sales is all about storytelling. But go ahead.
I was just going to agree. I'm just agreeing with you on that. If we can get people to really understand and put themselves in the situation, it makes a difference in their ability to feel like you understand them and that you can connect and relate.
Right, and that's what you got to do. And it can be a very positive tool if you do it right. And not everybody will tell stories in exactly the same way, but that's
Mhm.
okay. But you still can learn how to tell stories so that whoever you're talking with can relate to it. And that's what it's about.
Absolutely,
Yeah.
absolutely is.
Well, so how did you get involved with SpeakerHub?
I got involved with SpeakerHub because I had a PR agency a few years ago, and our agency was helping people get on stages, but we were kind of an agency where we did the pitching for our customers, and I built a team and hired people and put systems and processes in place. And the owner of SpeakerHub asked if our team could basically merge with the company. We weren't SpeakerHub before. The company was called PitchDB, and I built an agency using the software of PitchDB, and our agency was asked to basically merge because we had the team, we had the operations, and he was great at marketing, is great at marketing and sales. And so our team rolled into this other company. And then we purchased SpeakerHub about 8 months later. And so so our team helped grow SpeakerHub.
Mm. And how many clients does SpeakerHub have today?
We have over 60,000 people that use our platform. And so when we acquired SpeakerHub was only a speaker page. So for example, Michael, like LinkedIn, you can sign up, you can create a profile, and it has all of your information around your speaking topics, your background, your bio. And then we added this software that allows people to reach out to different organizations, conferences, and associations and media outlets. And so over 60,000 profiles are on SpeakerHub of speakers from around the world.
Wow. And people find it useful, and it's been very successful for them to find engagements and speak?
Yes. There are two amazing things that have happened. Today, we have customer calls every single day at noon Eastern where people can hop on and learn. We had someone who is an event organizer who came on the call today to let us know about an event that he has coming up that he's looking for speakers. So there's the organizer side where organizers are looking, and then there's the other side where people are actually pitching and reaching out. So people are getting books. Someone told us today that she got booked for a conference in Kenya, and they're going to all expenses paid to Kenya for her to come out and speak at this conference. So it's wonderful to see people get these opportunities.
Yeah, that's exciting to see that kind of thing happening. Well, you have also written books. Tell me about your books.
My first book is called The Game-Changing Assist: 6 Simple Ways to Choose Success. This book uses the framework of the 6 V's for success: having a vision, choosing your voices that you listen to, understanding the values to get to that vision, how to make it out of the valley, reaching the point of victory, and volunteering. And so that book really is for young women to take them on a journey through my experiences to learn about how to accomplish their goals in life using those 6 principles.
Mm-hmm.
And
even though it was written with young women in mind, just on principle, out of curiosity, do you find that men read it as well?
yes, it's applicable for everyone. At the time I wrote the book, I was doing a lot of coaching and training young women and running girls groups. So that's why that group of people was the target. But absolutely, those principles can transfer to anyone.
Yeah, that's cool. So when did you write that one? When was that one?
It was released in 2013.
Oh, okay. Then what?
Yeah. Then Post Moves: The Female Athlete's Guide to Dominate Life After College. That book is about mentoring, a lot of success in life for everyone, and is really built on mentoring and having great mentors. When I was a college athlete, the only professionals I knew were my coaches and my professors. And so in that book, I interviewed 15 women who all play college sports, who are all doing various things professionally. And the goal was for them to be able to learn about different careers, professions, and leadership from women who were in their shoes.
Mm-hmm.
So that book was really powerful because it wasn't just my story, it was others as well.
Which is great. When did that book come out?
2016.
Okay. And then?
Yes. And then there's a workbook that goes along with my first book, The Game-Changing Assist. And so that's where we are right now with publications. But I'm working on another one right now. Kind of the lessons I've learned over the past decade from those books.
Mm.
So I'm very excited about that.
When will that one be out?
It'll be out this summer. The release
Okay,
date isn't set yet, but it'll be this summer.
cool. And so you're going to talk about all the
Very
lessons that
excited.
you've learned and all the things that have happened. And oh boy, I'll bet you'll have a lot to say about
Yes.
the pandemic in that one.
Oh, the pandemic changed so much for
Yeah.
all of us. Yes. That book is called, tentatively named, Keep Bouncing Forward: How to Stay Confident When Life Knocks You Off Your Game.
Mm,
What I've learned the past decade, life will knock you off your game and things don't always turn out the way that you think they will. And you get thrown some curveballs. So try to help my younger self and other people learn, how do you keep going in the midst of challenging times?
yeah. Well, there there are a lot of times that we get thrown curveballs, and we didn't have any control over the curveballs coming necessarily. But it's like anything else. How do we deal with them? And that's what's really important.
Yes.
Do we analyze them? Do we find out whether it's a really valuable curveball that we can still hit out of the park, if we're going to use another sports analogy, or what? But we do need to recognize that things happen, and it's always going to be a question of how we deal with it.
Always. And it's the only thing we can control. We can't control other people. We can't control the overall situation. We can't control the weather. I mean, there's so many things that we just most that we can't control. So navigating that and understanding that you still have a choice of a response in the midst of is the
Yeah.
overall theme. If we can learn, it's really three parts. It's about learning in the midst of the challenge, growing, which comes out of the learning of new things and being stretched, and then giving. How do we give to others after we've gone through and have gained wisdom from it?
Well, yeah, one of the things I've said ever since September 11th basically is that we need to not worry about the things that we can't control. We had no control over September 11th happening, and I've never seen evidence to prove to me that we could have figured it out, even if all the various departments in the United States government were cooperating with each other. I think that the
Mhm.
reality is that the lesson we should learn about teamwork is that a team of 19 terrorists kept their mouths shut and made happen what we all experienced. So we didn't have control over that, but we absolutely have control over how we respond to it and how we deal with it internally for us.
Yes, 100%. I mean, that was definitely, forever memorable and very tragic. And that's all we can control. And the environments that we're around, who do we listen to in the most difficult times? How do we get back centered when we go through those difficult situations and continue to move forward? Because we can't stop. I think, Michael, when difficult things happen, oftentimes we want to like shut it all down, but you just can't stop forever. You have to keep
Mm-mm.
going.
Well, and a corollary to that is that we need to always keep learning. I think you
Yes.
mentioned it earlier, who say, "Well, I already know all this. I don't need to learn anymore." Uh, they're the they're the scariest of all, because those are the people that are going to always be left by the wayside.
And given this rate of change of technology and the rate of change of things, learning has to be our top priority because things are always changing. You don't want to be left behind.
What do you think of the things that we keep hearing in schools with the advent of AI and Chat GPT? The whole issue of students using Chat GPT to write their papers and so on, and what a bad thing that is.
So, as a non parent, I always preface this with
Yeah.
anything that has to do with schools and kids. I always say, as a non parent, as an auntie, well, in the business where we use ChatGPT all the time, we use it as a tool.
Yep.
And so I think if we don't allow kids to use the tools, then they're going to be left behind. But we can teach them how to use tools wisely and how to fact check to make sure that what they're saying is that the tools are used
Hmm.
in their voice and used in a way that helps them become better.
Yeah.
at whatever they're doing, but we can't not use it. So I don't have the exact answer, but I think not using it is dangerous as well, can be dangerous as well,
Well, we've talked about,
because it's not,
yeah, go ahead.
no, I was just going to say it's not going anywhere.
We've talked about fear of public speaking and so on. One of the things that I've advocated ever since I first learned about ChatGPT and how teachers are complaining that too many students are just letting ChatGPT write their papers, my position is let them. Let ChatGPT do it. The teachers need to adapt, and that I don't mean that in a cold-hearted way, but the best thing to do is you can really find out how well students have learned the material or not by if you assign a paper and everybody writes the paper and then turns it in, then take a class period and let everyone have 1 minute or a minute and a half to come up and defend their paper.
Mm-hmm.
You turn the paper in and then defend the paper, because you're going to see very quickly who just let some system write their paper or who maybe used the system but really still wrote the paper themselves and really understands the concepts. And that's what it's really about. And I know that I've seen that even much earlier than ChatGPT. I had a physics professor who was in charge of developing the PhD qualifying exam for classical mechanics one year for those people who wanted to become and get PhDs in physics. And more people failed his exam than anyone else had ever experienced. And the powers that be called him in and were chastising him. And he said, wait a minute, you don't get it. He said, look at this paper. This is the exam I give to all of my freshmen in classical mechanics. And here's the exam that we use for the PhD qualifying exam. The only difference between the two was that both had 16 questions that were conceptual, not mathematical in nature, but the PhD qualifying exam had 4 questions that were clearly solving mathematical equations, Lagrangian dynamics, and so on. And the thing that people messed up on were not the 4 mathematical things, but all the concepts, because physics people spend so much time dealing with the math rather than focusing on the concepts that people never really got them. And the result was that people messed up on the concepts, although they got the math part. His test was the same one that his freshman students got, and it really kind of quieted them all down, quieted all the powers down, because they realized, oh, maybe he's not the problem, which is so true.
I
And
think, you're, oh, no, sorry.
no, go ahead.
No, I think you're right. I think educators will have to find a way to ensure that students are still learning while using the technology that exists.
Yeah, I think that it's a paradigm shift, and ChatGPT is creating this paradigm shift. And now what we need to do is to recognize the value of what it brings. I've written articles, and I use ChatGPT when I write articles, but I will look at the ideas that it provides, and it comes up with things I hadn't thought of, which is fine, and I will include them. But I'm still the one that ultimately writes the articles, and it needs to be that way. And I don't
Yes.
care how good ChatGPT gets; it can be the most perfect thing, but it still isn't me, and it never will be.
And that ties back into the storytelling. ChatGPT can't tell our stories of our lives.
Mm-mm.
It can't create the experiences that we've had. It can't recreate our experiences. So even in using ChatGPT or any AI software to help write, we still have to be able to speak authentically to our lived experience. And it can never replace that. It can never replace you. It can never replace our experiences and
Yeah.
the impact those experiences can have for others.
And that is so true. So for you, we're doing this podcast called Unstoppable Mindset. What does unstoppable mindset mean to you, and how do you bring it out and make it a part of everything that you do in every day and in your whole life?
Unstoppable mindset to me means getting knocked down and being willing to get back up and get knocked down again and being willing to get back up. And more importantly, believing that you can get back up. You're going to miss, to use the sports analogies, you're going to miss shots. You're going to not win you're not going to win every game. And you're not going to play well every night. Every day won't be perfect. But if you're willing to keep moving forward and keep pushing forward, then you still have an opportunity to, one, inspire others, but also to get to your goals, whatever they may be.
And the reality is, the more of it you do, the better you'll become. And maybe it'll get to the point where you won't miss any shots and you'll just be perfect. And that's okay too. As long as you recognize where it came from and why you've been able to attain so well.
Yes, yes. And sometimes, Michael, our mindset, looking at others' journeys can help us as well. And it's like, okay, if they can do it, I can do it. If my parents can, my mom grew up in Mississippi and literally picked cotton. I mean, my mom's 83 years old. And so to be able to see what she's gone through and for her to have the mindset to be able to push through and to continue to have faith, well, then I can too.
Yeah. And that's as it should be.
Yes, we can lean on those stories of mentors or others who've been through challenging situations and use that to crystallize that unstoppable mindset within us as well.
And I think that's as good as it gets. And so with that, we've been doing this just about an hour. I think it's time to go off and let you go off. And I don't know whether you've had dinner yet or not, but I haven't. And I know dinner is going to be coming. But more important than that, we've been talking for a while. I don't want to bore people, but I want to thank you for being here. And I want to really tell you how much I appreciate all the words of wisdom that you have given us and all the things that you've had to say. It's been wonderful. And I want to thank all of you for being with us today. I hope that you've come away with a better commitment to, a better understanding of, and a better resolve to be more unstoppable than you thought you were. So thank you for all of you for being here and being a part of this. Love to hear what you think. Angela, if people want to reach out to you, how do they do that?
If you want to reach out to me, you can find me on LinkedIn, Angela R. Lewis on LinkedIn, or you can reach out to me on Instagram, the Angela R. Lewis. Michael, thank you so much for this invitation. I really enjoyed our conversation.
Well, it's been fun. And I, again, want to thank you all. And I'd love to hear from you. Please feel free to email me at michaelhi@accessibe.com. That's Michael, MICHAELHI at ACCESSIBE.com. Or go to our podcast page, www.michaelhingson.com/podcast. Michael Hingson is MICHAELHINGSON. So thanks all for being here. Please give us a 5-star rating wherever you're watching or hearing our podcast today. We love it. If you know anyone else who ought to be a guest on our podcast, Angela, for you as well, please introduce us. We're always looking for people to come on and tell their stories, because I think everyone has a story. And my goal is to give people the opportunity to tell them and inspire the rest of us. So please come on, and don't hesitate, any of you, to introduce us to people who we ought to have on. So again, Angela, I want to thank you for being here. This has been a lot of fun.
Thank you, Michael. Thank you.